Welcome to Tonight Live. I'm Paisley Beebe, and welcome also to our viewers on the web who are also in chat. Later tonight, we're going to meet the Electric Brit musician Grif Bamaisin. We also meet the Dean of the virtual Rockcliffe University, Phelan Corrimal. But first, mesh is coming, or so we are told. Those that design in Second Life know what that means, but personally I have no idea. I've got a vague understanding that it means that Second Life content can be created outside of Second Life in design programs and then imported back into Second Life. How will that change our experience of Second Life? Architects and home builders in Second Life have been waiting with bated breath for this. But what does it mean for them? Safia Williams is the host and producer of Treat TV show Designing Worlds. She is also the publisher of the Prim Graf magazine and the Prim Perfect magazine and blog. With a finger on the pulse of Second Life design, I'm hoping that she can give us some insight into what mesh is and how it'll change our Second Life experience. Safia is also going to show us the latest and greatest in home design that is available right now. Welcome to Tonight Live, Safia.
It's a pleasure to be here, Paisley.
Now, Safia, when you look around the grid at various home designs and furnishings, what are you noticing right now?
Well, one thing that is quite key is that people at the moment are holding their breaths. The economy is to a certain extent depressed. That people are waiting to see what is going to happen. There's been some bad blows. The new viewers have, the new copybot viewers have caused a lot of despondency, as I think you know. I think you had Maxwell on last week, who I'm sure talked about that. There's also the fact that mesh is coming is depressing the market. We're still seeing some nice news. I've got picked up a couple of pictures of houses. Sierra and Antime is producing a new cottage, for example. And there's some very talented young builders out there, like Mike Dennehy, who's producing some very contemporary houses with a very modern look.
So what you're saying is that, do you think designers are holding off at the moment, waiting for mesh to come in before they put all their efforts into designing new products?
I think so. There's less of a temptation to produce new products when everyone knows this is coming down the line. And some of them are looking on it very sensibly as an opportunity to start learning the new techniques.
Okay, so Safia, please tell some of us that have no clue what it is, including me, what did I get the synopsis right? Is it about design programs outside of Second Life and then importing them in? And at this stage, you can't do that. Linden Labs do not have. Okay, so what is going to be the benefit, first of all, to designers to be able to do that?
Well, the benefit is that the quality of the product that will be brought in will be much higher. They can also make their inventory and store it off the grid. And it then has the potential to be saved, not relying on Linden Lab system, but relying on your own hard drive or whatever means you're using for saving stuff. And also, it'll be more easy to import into different grids that might be running different systems. For example, you've got Blue Mars is using a similar system with requiring similar programs. And that means that a designer who builds something in Blender, for example, or SketchUp, which is a free program, could potentially bring it into Second Life and into Blue Mars as well and sell in both markets, which would be a huge advantage.
Just taking you back a little bit, Safia, when you said the quality of the builds and the designs, because this doesn't just apply to houses and architecture, it applies to all sorts of design, will be more improved. Can you be a bit more specific about in what way it will be improved? What will we notice?
I think we'll notice greater definition and greater sharpness. It could avoid some of the problems we see. Take, for example, shoes. That's a classic one, how they have to have the alphas. So you get the invisible prims that interrupt people's view. When you have mesh, those will be gone.
Okay.
So that it will just be a shoe. You won't have the problems with the alphas. That's also going to apply in buildings. You know how you have the windows where your plants stick through and the walls that your plants stick through because of problems with alphas that are really hard to overcome. Mesh is going to get rid of those, or so we hope.
What about things like baked on lighting and shadows that we're seeing more and more of in here?
That's something that's very much a product that ties in with sculpts. You can actually build shadows into sculpt maps, and people have been doing that. To be honest, I'm not sure how it's going to affect in mesh. Some viewers are already using shadows. It's a basic add-on. Most of the designers I talk to, rather than building the shadows into their sculptures, prefer to add them as a separate layer so people can have them or not have them as they want. One of the things that I've been seeing recently as well, and we've just had a couple of pictures of it, is that several designers are developing skybox scenes. So instead of buying a skybox which is fixed and static, you buy a skybox whose scene changes with your mood. We saw a picture of me in one of my favourite ones, which is the field, where I'm up in my skybox at 2,000 feet. And I'm sitting in a tree, and there's a scarecrow there, and that's one of the Garden of Dreams scenarios, and I love that one. I spend a lot of time there. And the one that's being shown at the moment on the screen is a completely new product from Layla Firefly of Bell Bell. And she's very well known for her beautiful furniture. But she's actually now starting this range of skyboxes. And the first one, which I was trying out with her, is called Calypso's Cave. And she's currently working on a second one. I'm not going to reveal what that is. I'm going to let her release that with the news of what it is.
So what you're saying is they're actually not the traditional skybox of a house that's all enclosed. No. It's actually a scene. Skybox sort of scene. Oh.
Yes.
Now, why did people think of that before, Safia?
No. Garden of Dreams have been doing them for a little while, and it's great. With the system, you can put a skybox up there, and you'll have a switch of some kind somewhere in the skybox. And when you click that switch, you'll go on to another scene.
So the whole thing changes, because I've got that at the moment in a couple of skyboxes that I have for our offices, where you click a switch and just the little picture outside the windows changes. But this is the whole thing that changes.
This is the whole skybox that changes. It's not the scene outside, it's inside. So, for example, I can go from my field to a Japanese apartment, complete with a pool, or I can go to a Roman bath scene. I've even got a Bedouin tent.
I bet you get a lot of use out of that, Safia.
I enjoy showing it off to people.
We won't talk about that. That's, that's the other dark side of Safia that watch design are not that aware of. Safia, so just going back to mesh for 1 second, when is it supposed to come out? Has anyone heard any rumours? Because we did have an announcement at some point that they were considering it this year. Have you heard anything?
Yes. I haven't. They were considering it coming out sometime this summer, but things have gone quiet about that. And to be honest, they were saying it was coming out this summer before the events earlier with the changeover in the leadership and the new focus on core needs. Now, whether they're going to see mesh as a core need, it's a very moot point.
That was a question I had. What's in it for Linden's? Well, I guess it makes the place look more beautiful, doesn't it?
It makes the place look more beautiful. If they go back to their old theory of that they want interoperability between grids, it would certainly help with that by having the designers design off-grid and import into other things. One of the things at the moment is that really it's not practical. And it's certainly not meant to be possible. I mean, it is possible to do it, but quite often because of the difference in ownership and like the ownership of textures, things like that, to actually export the contents of your products into your hard drive is breaking all kinds of permissions and intellectual property rights.
And I'm assuming that they'll probably charge for these uploads, so they'll make a bit of money that way, won't they?
I presume so, yes. Yeah, I imagine. And they may charge at a higher rate than they're charging for textures at the moment. I don't know about that.
Now, I've got a picture up here on the screen of a Linden home furniture set, which is gorgeous. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about the Linden homes just before we finish up, because you've done a couple of stories on them now. And it's been a while since we've had the Linden homes around, and just I'm interested to know what sort of feedback you've had about them. Have you found, in general, with the designers that you talk to, that the Linden homes has impacted the economy for residents who do prefabs and building?
Well, it's certainly quite a few of them have started doing a Linden home range, or, you know, pushing some of their lower prim furniture as being suitable for Linden homes, which is great. The trouble is that we've got to make people who rent Linden homes, especially if they're coming in home buying for the first time, that really you can do so much more with your home than have a cuddle rug, a sex bed and a potted plant and call that home.
Oh, okay. So you've been looking through my windows then, Safia, again.
Yeah. Sorry, Paisley.
So, with the Linden homes, though, how popular are they? Do you know anything about how popular they are? Are people giving them up quickly? Are they then moving on to a large home and renting it from the residents?
I think that there is some stagnation in the lower part of the rental market, which suggests that when people are moving on, they're moving up at the same time. In the early days, there was an awful lot of kind of everyone who had premium accounts were grabbing their Linden homes, and a lot of people were moving from Linden home to Linden home almost, daily. People were discovering you weren't allowed to change it more than 5 times in a day and complaining. What?
I think they're going to Walmart or something and trying on different outfits. Yeah.
But now that has calmed down to some extent. And people are tending to keep and are tending to furnish. I think the lab are very happy with the way it's been going, and I think that they have plans in the pipeline for further development of the Linden home, but I don't know what those are at the moment.
Maybe they're waiting for mesh.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they're waiting for mesh, but it may be they're just going to extend the ranges or perhaps introduce some new ones. At the moment, we've got the 4 types. We've got the Oriental, the Mountain, the Fantasy, and the Contemporary. So far in the magazine, we featured Contemporary and Mountain being made over by designers. This is a Mountain that Delhi Bean North did, one of the townhouse ones. Okay. And she just, they've all been fantastic. The 3 that we've had done so far by Colleen de Moulin, Loud Donna Upshaw, and Delhi Bean North have all been absolutely fantastic. This month, El Kirshner is going to be doing a fantasy home, and we're really looking forward to that.
Fantastic. And what else? What have you got coming up this week on Designing Worlds, Safia?
Oh, it is going to be a brilliant show. We're going to be looking at jewellery. We're going to be looking at how jewellery is looking at the Sims and landscapes and going, wow, isn't this fantastic? Or, wow, isn't that palace fantastic? And this week we're going to be saying, wow, isn't that tiny, tiny prim fantastic? So
I can't wait to see that. I've never seen anyone do that. And it'll be really interesting to see how it's done. Yeah, thank you so much for being our guest, Safia. It's always a delight you on the show, and
it's fun to be.
Thank you for fitting us in, because I know you're incredibly busy. You were incredibly busy with Relay for Life and all your magazines and your shows, and of course now you've got the Metaversal Arts show as well. So and
yes, that's going very well.
Yes,
yeah,
fantastic.
We're very pleased with that.
On Treat TV as well.
Trisha Aphrodita is going to be on with the show this coming Saturday. So that's going to be worth watching. It's all about virtualism in this way of defining art, forms of art in Second Life as virtualism. And the show's going to be discussing that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Safia Widdershins. Next up, the Electric Brit rocker Grif Bamaisin is up next.
Learn Spanish at Instituto Español, the Second Life leaders in Spanish language education. Transformational talismans, trinkets, and treasures from the dream merchants at Alchemy Immortalis. We create props, scenes, and experiences that invite suspension of disbelief and help you live a more magical life. Citizen D builds and sells high-quality, fully functional robots, automatons, and other useful scripted gadgets at affordable prices. Visit their beautiful flagship store, located on Route 1, across from the famous Moore Mall, sign in historic Moore Mall.
Grif Bamaisin is a musician in the style of Hendrix, Deep Purple, Wishbone Ash and Gary Moore. Grif was a touring sound engineer for many great rock bands for 20 years before finding Second Life and finally becoming a gigging musician. Please welcome Grif Bamaisin, his band, and down the front of the stage there, the Tambourettes. Here he is singing his original tune, Crosshairs.
All right. Give me a hand here, clap your hands for me. Now I'm here in Santa Rosa, I love it. taking what they got. Don't need to tell you, I think I got a lot. I have a Ginny Jennings, oh my word, she's fun. Crosshairs of my girly gun. Caught you in the crosshairs, nowhere to run. Now that I found you, let's have some fun. I'm loving this sound right. Kiss you, check me on your mouth, and I'm gonna kiss you once on your mouth. If anything like that, I'll kiss you further south. Saw you walking down the street. You know I had to find you. I knew we had to meet. Now that I found you, you're awful sweet. Last one. Thank you so much. With up the tambourette, Ruin Razor.
Advertise on Tonight Live with Paisley Beebe and get your brand noticed.
Welcome to Tonight Live, Grif.
Thank you very much. Good to meet you, Paisley.
Tell us about that song and your band.
The song is just, it was a simple kind of variation of Green Onion sped up, and I originally made the lyrics up as I went along, so kind of saw tablets and there they were. It's just one of the ways I start the show. I can bring things in and out using a looper, so it's kind of easy that way. So you were telling me earlier that you play all the instruments yourself. So the guys on the stage are there for it makes it more fun. And also, Razor is actually driving my avatar. I'm standing by a microphone here holding a piece of wood. So, I can't do much because I let one pose go and let it go. When he's there, he's hearing the live stream, and he actually makes the animations for all of us, so he can drive us in real SL music time.
It looks great. It looks fantastic.
So it just adds to the fun. And the tambourettes, they're great, and just gives the audience something to actually do as part of the show.
You give those out at your show, don't you, and get everybody to animate with them?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I do. They've got the gift of that. That's actually Jeannie started doing it. She just grabbed a tambourine one day, got on stage with me, and next thing you know, she's making tambourines for all the venues in Second Life.
Interesting, because I don't normally associate tambourines with sort of hard rock.
Well, the daft thing is, when I do new songs now, I actually add tambourine tracks for them. It's song tambourine solos. And
sort of folk music. Folk music meets heavy rock.
Yeah, but the thing is, I've got the best view in Second Life from any stage I play on now. It's like...
Yeah. So you were a sound engineer and you travelled with touring bands for 20 years. What were some of the bands that you toured with, Grif?
As an engineer, my main one was Blue Oyster Cult. I actually worked for the sound company for most of the time, so I'd be as a system engineer, so I'd be doing support acts before they were famous. So that way, as a Poison, I did quite right a bit, and bands like that. But the big one was Blue Oyster Cult. That was my main claim to fame. I toured with a few Oz bands as well. Crowded House and Band LRB. I toured with those guys.
Oh wow! Well, I'm impressed with Crowded House. LRB is pretty good too. Glenn Shorrock's just got another show on at the moment, actually.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, he's still singing away. And Crowded House, of course, they're all not so much Crowded House anymore, but Neil Finn is still very, very popular and still singing.
I saw him in Seattle last year.
I bet those guys were pretty tame, actually, when you toured with them. They looked like they're well-behaved boys.
Actually, no.
Oh, really?
Well, that's how the band, but their crew knew how to lift the pint at night, so...
Oh, well, the crew, the crew, yes, but, Neil Finn, he's a nice family man, and I can't imagine that Glenn Shorrock's band were that wild.
But it's true as always.
But you did mention, actually, in your bio that you also toured with the Angels in 1986. Now, the Angels, for those non-Aussies out there, were a really wild band, and I was a big fan of the Angels, actually, in 1986.
Oh, cool.
That would have been...
Sorry, Carol.
Go on.
I came over in 83. We built a sound system to actually sell to Australia and work out there. And we needed a way to test it because, you didn't have roads then or air-ride trucks. So we had to build it really, really tough. And we ended up going Western Australia, a very low-profile tour with the Angels. We did Kalgoorlie and Geraldton and Busselton, places like that. But because it was 83, we also did the post-America's Cup Festival. After was it the Australians won the America's Cup? Yeah, you did.
Yep.
That was a serious party.
Oh yeah, well, it's the one and only time I think that we've won the America's Cup. But the Angels would have been wild in those days, Grif.
Oh yeah,
1986. Doc Neeson and.
Yeah, it was a very, very wild tour. And it was funny because the crew wanted me, they turned to tell me it was too hot for me. I had to go away and, not do anything. But I'd turn up and I'd go, okay, now I'm here. Can you make both sides of the stage the same height? And, open the truck doors and watch dirt fall out. It was pretty amazing. I loved Kalgoorlie. Was hysterical. I haven't been introduced to that sort of environment before. And and Moreton Bay Bugs in Geraldton were great.
Oh, they are. And they're not bugs, folks. They're actually like little crabs. Cross between crabs and lobsters. Very, very nice on the menu over here. Now, how long have you been playing the guitar?
Guitar about 5 years, 4 to 5 years.
Really?
I played bass since I was 12, which was longer than that. About 30 years. But I switched to guitar about 5 years ago. And
how did you do that? I mean, have you been taking lessons, or did you just pick it up?
There's DVDs all over the place, self-taught. I mean, I already knew where the notes were. I mean, I did play guitar as a young kid, just as a strumming thing, classical training type thing, a few lessons, but I've been playing bass forever.
So are you playing live in real life anyway, or is this now just a purely Second Life gig for you?
I make myself go to Portland's got a really cool music scene, and you can go and play anywhere in a jam session. So I make myself go out to blues jams kind of once every month or two. And you find it's very easy to get complacent in here because you've got everything the way you want it exactly. Mm-hmm. And you enjoy it, charge everything. So it's good to go out and find your place in the food chain.
How did you find Second Life, Grif?
It was funny. I just saw a reference on the website somewhere, and I went in and looked, and I moved left and right, backs and forwards. I flew, I took my clothes off, put them back on, and I didn't realise you could actually go anywhere. So I left, and a couple of months later, I saw an article in the local paper about a Portland sim, and I came in, and that was the end of it. I was in.
Same old story. People get here, don't know what to do, leave.
Yeah. But they're better now. I've brought a couple of people through when I bring guest musicians in to play with me, I get them a disposable Abbey. And the places you seem much better about actually taking you through into Second Life proper now than they used to. I had no clue. I had no clue it was anything else other than Help Island.
So how does your Second Life experience compare with your real life experience with touring bands and the whole hard rock scene?
That's an interesting question. I like that.
I'm glad you like that.
In terms of, I've only toured, as I said, as a musician when I was like 15 and I starved. So that reference is great. I don't starve. I make a little money. I pay from the house and take money out, but I do it for fun. It's much more interactive here than it is on a real life stage. Much more.
Yeah.
I keep my sounds on because I like applause like anybody else. So I'm open to purr attacks. The when Harry met Sally restaurant scene coming over my headset while I'm trying to sing. I have an audience with a sense of humour, and that the goal seems to get me to try and crack up on a microphone during the show. So
love, of course.
Of course. Exactly. I can see it right now. Look at the screen. I'm seeing.
Yeah, I know. They're trying to get you to crack up right now. Well, it sounds like you're having a lot of fun. And where can people see you in Second Life, Grif? Have you got a regular gig someplace, or is it just a matter of joining your group?
You can join the group, or just type Grif into events. I play every night except Saturday. And Saturday, half the time, I'll turn up at the Whiskey Go Round anyway. But I have book shows, regular shows every night. Pranksters, I will plug Pranksters. I really do like that place. On a Sunday night, it's a picking party, so we actually get to see other musicians play as well. You sit on stalls, you play 2 songs, pass the mic over, and we'd often duel with each other as well, which is kind of nice. We do a lot of duels, lots of combinations. Yeah, it is a great night.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being our guest, Grif. Thanks a lot to the...
I love it. I'll stop shaking now.
Oh! Come on. Well, if you have a tambourine in your hand, you might actually, make some more music. So thanks to the guys on stage and the tambourettes down in front of the stage tonight. It was a great show, and thank you very much for being our guest.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It really was great fun. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Grif. Stay watching. Phelan Corrimal, Dean of the virtual Rockcliffe University, talks about being the first fully virtual university.
Citizen D builds and sells high-quality, fully functional robots, automatons, and other useful scripted gadgets at affordable prices. Visit their beautiful flagship store located on Route 1 across from the famous Corrimal sign in historic Corrimal. Learn Spanish at Instituto Español, the Second Life leaders in Spanish language education. Transformational talismans, trinkets, and treasures from the dream merchants at Alchemy Immortalis. We create props, scenes, and experiences that invite suspension of disbelief and help you live a more magical life.
We've all heard of distance learning, the ability to complete a course from a distance, either online or, as it used to be called, by correspondence. Rockcliffe University in Second Life has taken that idea one step further by having a university with recognised educators, fully supported only in a virtual world. At the present time, Rockcliffe is staffed by volunteers and is a non-profit, but they are working presently to have it an accredited university. Please welcome to Tonight Live the Dean of Rockcliffe University, Phelan Corrimal. Welcome to Tonight Live, Phelan.
Thank you very much.
Now, Rockcliffe has been around for 4 years. How did it start?
It started when I was in the midst of doing my own doctorate through the University of Phoenix. We started out with a very small plot of land where I had set up a couple of classrooms, a library, and a social area. And then unbeknownst to me, it just became very popular very quickly. And within 6 months, we grew from literally nothing to about 1,000 group members and 10 faculty. And it just sort of kept growing from there.
Why do you think it became so popular, Phelan? Was it the choice of courses or meetings or discussions that you were having there at the time?
No, I think one of the things that we were doing differently and that a lot of other groups followed on after we started doing this was the approach that I took in the very beginning was to, instead of doing a series of workshops, we actually presented a full-blown course with regards to program building and scripting. And that was something that you couldn't really get anywhere else in Second Life. So I think that was part of what was going on. And then, I would like to think, the instructor had something to do with it, but you never know.
Was that you?
That would have been me.
Okay, so when you structured this first course, did you structure it very much like you would a real-life course where you had a plan, and at the end of the course there was examinations and perhaps a certificate or a virtual diploma of some sort?
Yeah, no, it was very structured, but there was no certificate of completion or anything else like that. It was just simply, here's the material, come on by, I'll teach you what it is that you need to know. And then, we started getting other teachers that were interested in doing the same type of program. And like I said, it just sort of got out of hand very quickly after we started doing that.
Can anyone call themselves a university, Phelan? I mean, is that a term that you have to have a certain level of accreditation to be able to call yourself a university, or?
It is depending on where in the world you're talking about, it is a very restricted term. So I'm actually in Canada myself, and in Canada, the term university is a restricted term that is reserved for only the largest of schools. And in fact, Ryerson Polytechnic, for example, had to go through years of being a college before they managed to get granted the status of university. There's only a couple of countries in the world that allow for sort of self-developed universities, the U.S. being one, and even inside the U.S., it varies from state to state. So what we had done was we had chosen to incorporate as a nonprofit in the state of California because they had the least restrictive rules, and they also had a nice little progression path for us to get us from where we were to where it is that we want to be, without violating any laws or any accreditation or Board of Education standards or anything else like that. So we're trying to do this in a very methodical step-by-step process to go from being completely virtual to being a fully accredited university, and it's going to take a while, but we're on the right path, and we are doing things in the right order.
Are there any stumbling blocks that you have in the virtual world that you wouldn't have to overcome in real life?
Oh, tons. The biggest one is trying to get the 501c3 status, which is the U.S. tax exempt status. The U.S. IRS office is not used to dealing with an organization that is completely virtual. And in fact, even if you look through the Board of Education requirements from state to state in the U.S., they all assume that you are a brick-and-mortar type organization. So the level of scrutiny that we're going through right at the moment is drastically higher than what anybody else would necessarily be having to go through, simply because we are virtual and we're being very upfront in terms of where we've come from and where it is we're trying to get to.
Is there anything comparable? Say, is there an online university, so not actually sort of in a virtual world, but an online university? Has there ever been one?
Oh, there's been tons, but most of them have all been associated with other brick and mortar type organizations. The largest one that most people will be familiar with will be the University of Phoenix. But the University of Phoenix is actually a group called the Apollo Group, which is based out of California, and they were running for years as a quote-unquote a virtual organization until they finally partnered with the University of Phoenix. And at that point, things really sort of took off for them. But there's Walden University, there's Athabasca, there's Kaplan University. I mean, there's all kinds of different universities out there that are putting themselves out there as being virtual, right? We're the only ones, though, that started from this type of a basis, from starting off as a social network and growing from there. The other ones all started with a definite plan to be a university and had their funding and their angel investors and everything else all sort of up front.
Well, at least you don't have to go through any building inspections.
I hope
safety, not. Or anything like that. So right now, what have you got? What sort of courses do you have on offer at the university? And are any of them? Are you able to as a student, add it to your real life resume that you've done those courses? Would they mean anything?
Well, let me deal with the second part of that first, because I think it's fairly important to note that whether somebody takes a course from an accredited organization or not, they can always put it onto their resume. And in fact, there's a lot of organizations that are out there that are, some are for-profit, some are not-for-profit. It really depends upon what the work environment is looking for at that given point in time. And if it's important to the work environment, then any course that you take will add value to your resume, whether the course is accredited or not. With regards to the first part of that, we have a fair number of courses that we're offering. They range from forums. Well, we have the standard building and scripting courses because that's sort of where we got our start in Second Life. But then we also have a lot of forums in things like business, management, finance, philosophy, health and healthcare. We have library sciences. I mean, there's a fair number of things. We have our faculty is fairly diverse in terms of their interests and what it is they'd like to do and what it is they like to teach. So, we've had no restrictions on any of our faculty members, so long as they have the skills, so long as they have the wherewithal, so long as they relate well to the students. We give all of our faculty members equal opportunity to do anything that really will sort of advance the way in which we can develop knowledge and present knowledge and teach it to other people.
So the faculty members don't have to have a particular certification or a qualification?
Only for certain aspects. So, for example, the project management courses that we have to be taught by a certified PMP, which is a project management professional, and that certification comes from the Project Management Institute. So that's a hard and fast requirement that's dictated by PMI. So the only people that are allowed to teach that particular subject are those people that have their PMP. No questions asked. It has to be that way. But for things like building and scripting, right, so long as you can show an aptitude for it, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if you've never completed high school. If you've got an aptitude for that, if you work well with other people, then why shouldn't you be given the opportunity to do something like that in here? I mean, this entire environment is about doing things that people have never done before and being able to do things without restriction.
Will that change if you get accreditation?
It will change for some things. We're hoping to develop a PhD program for the fall of next year. And for the teaching of some of the courses, people will have to be accredited with inside certain subject areas. And for the actual dissertation process itself, we can only have PhDs on the dissertation committees, and that's a hard and fast requirement, required by the accreditation process. So we're not about to try to play with that, right? That's sort of the way society expects things to be, and we understand that, and we can work within those rules. But for other stuff, so long as the door is open, that we can allow people to explore their creative side of things, that's totally fine.
Are the courses free at the moment?
Right at the moment, the courses are free. We are one of the biggest challenges that I think most nonprofit organizations and even for-profit organizations are trying to find within Second Life is how do you develop a sustainable revenue model? And we're no different, right? I mean, it does take time, it takes energy, it takes finances to do this type of stuff. Right at the moment, all of our courses are free of charge. People can come in, they can come and go as they see fit. There's no requirement to register, right? It's just simply if we have a course on the schedule you want to attend, come on in. I mean, the door is open for anybody to show up and participate in one of the forums. Eventually, however, we do have to figure out where, how to develop a sustainable revenue model, because eventually this all does have to be paid for. And that's currently what we're working on over the next, 6 months to a year. So we're playing around with different ideas in terms of how we may be able to do that, and I'm hoping that we're going to come up with some really novel solutions that may be workable, not just for us, but for other nonprofits as well that are trying to figure out how to be sustainable within such a virtual environment.
One last question before we wrap up, Phelan. What do you see as the biggest advantage of having a totally virtual university that is not connected to a real-life bricks-and-mortar university?
Well, the most obvious answer to that would be convenience, because you don't have to dress up, or you could basically do this in your pajamas. Nobody would really know. But I think beyond that, there is what we've been finding through some of the research we've been doing, and working with the Virtual World's Best Practice in Education, working with the SLCC conference. A lot of the research that's coming out shows that there's a social dynamic and there's a psychological perspective to everything that we're doing in here that goes beyond simply being pixels on a screen. And, we're still trying to, we in terms of the broader academic community are still trying to find our way through how that's going to impact on the state of education and working collaboratively. So I really do think that there is some, how do I put this? There's some dynamics that are going on here that haven't been fully realized yet, and I think once we get a very strong handle on them, that the positioning of how virtual worlds fit in with real worlds and how to get the best value out of both is going to take a substantial leap forward, and I don't think that's too far off in the future. I mean, we're still playing around with bringing our real-life techniques from the real-life classroom into the virtual environment, but that's really not the core of what it is to teach. A lot of it has to do with presence. A lot of it has to do with the idea of closeness and bonding and the social structure between individuals, and the ability to allow people to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes. And a virtual environment.
Of course, you don't get that if you're doing it by written correspondence or even online.
Exactly. And the nice thing about a virtual environment is if you make a mistake, big deal, you just start over, right? And it's you're not being judged by
not always, not always,
but for the most part, right? Like I tell people, I mean, there's only one job in the world that you have to get things right the first time, every time, and that's bomb disposal. And after that, we all learn by mistake. So
actually.
Oh, that's true.
Thank you very much for being our guest, Phelan. If people want to find out more about Rockcliffe University, where can they go?
They can go to our website at www.urockcliffe.com. That's ROCKCLIFFE. and they can get more information there. And there'll be information there about SLCC and the Virtual World's Best Practice in Education Conference as well.
Thank you so much for being our guest. It's a fascinating subject, and one I'll be keeping a close eye on over the next couple of years to see where you go.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phelan. That's all we've got time for this week on Tonight Live. I'd like to thank all of our guests, Safia Widdershins, publisher and producer, host of Designing Worlds, musician Grif Bamaisin, and the Dean of Rockcliffe University, Phelan Corrimal. You can find out more about our guests on our website at Tonight Live with Paisley Beebe. You can contact us if you're interested in advertising on any of our shows. Don't forget you can support Tonight Live by buying a chair in our audience and getting your name embossed on the back. If you visit our studio here at North Point during the week, you can watch the shows here. We've got a screen set up, and you can also join our Subscriber-matic to get reminders and notices about the shows coming up. Live and Kickin', our Perfect World Productions music show, this week features Guitar Zane at Broadway Live Island, Times Square. Fabulous Fashion with Angie Mornington this week looks at men's wear. We don't have a lot of menswear fashion. So you blokes out there that want to find out what you can get in Second Life, Rob Moonites will be the stylist that will be coming up and talking about that. Also, Jenna Lawyer will be talking about accessories this week on Fabulous Fashion. I look forward to being with you all again in 3 weeks' time as Treat TV goes to SLCC in Boston for the next 3 weeks. Good night, everybody.
You